Hey, what's up, Street Gods? It's Eric from the Eric Street Photography blog. So one thing I wanted to talk to you about is why you must follow your passion in life. So it's something I've always believed in since I was in like middle school, high school, college, of always following your passion. And it's kind of one of those weird notions that 99.9% of people say that's bad advice. They say, oh, following your passion is bad advice. You should just be realistic and get a job, make a bunch of money, blah, blah, right? So this is my rationale. Let's say you don't follow your passion and you just do what's purely utilitarian or economical, and you just end up, I don't know, like doing something you don't really like become a doctor, a lawyer, a banker, not a programmer, just making a bunch of money. And let's say you in fact do get a good job, you start making a bunch of money, but let's say you kind of hate your job, and then over time you build resentment in your parents, your teachers, your guides, or even in yourself, that you decided to make a career choice that essentially trapped you within that certain lifestyle and like that certain financial framework. And you just will end up being miserable for the rest of your life. And I think it's very important what profession you decide to do in life, because even as Nassim Taleb says in The Bed of Procrustes, the reason why a lot of jobs are bad is that they will stealthily invade your mind during non-working hours. So for example, let's say you work in an office or a company, and let's say you work 9 to 5, or let's say you work 10 to 7, and then you get off work at 7, and you have 7 to midnight for your own time. If you're spending any of your non-working hours thinking about your job, that is not good, because then it means that even though you're physically not at work, if you're mentally still preoccupied with work, then you're essentially kind of like indirectly enslaved to your job, in the sense that you cannot use your own free time to pursue your own passions, whether it be photography, writing, poetry, dance, theater, whatever it may be for you. And this is my rationale why I think you should pursue your passion. So this is also a disclaimer. I don't think you have to make a living from your passion. I think if it's possible, it's the best, right? But I don't think you need to. I mean, ain't no shame of doing just kind of whatever rando job you need to do to pay the bills. I think that's totally fine. But I would say following your passion is essential, because I think a life without passion, a life without fire, a life without enthusiasm of what you really care about, I don't think it's a life worth living. I mean, then every day just becomes this eternal drudgery. It becomes like Sisyphus pushing the rock up the mountain just to have it crushed back on him. Or it's like, Tantalus is like always reaching out for the water and the apple, but it just kind of keeps receding. So you don't want to live a torturous, painful, slavery type of life. And I think the solution is just following your passion. And when I say that, what I mean is this. Determine for yourself what you're passionate about, and also realize your passion constantly changes and evolves over time. And then determine to yourself, I don't care if society or other people tell me it's legitimate or not legitimate. Decide whether it's something that you truly care about for yourself, and also for you to put your all into it. And this is the thing that's interesting with following your passion, is that if you're following your passion or you're doing things that you're passionate about, it will never feel like toilsome labor. It will feel like fun. It's like play, like even making these videos and me blogging and making photos and stuff like that. To me, obviously I work really hard at it and I put a lot of effort into what I do. And essentially I'm always working, but it never feels like drudgery. It never feels like I'm being forced to do something that I don't want to do. And this is also the irony too, is that the best way to be more productive in doing anything is not to force yourself to be productive, and certainly not to have a boss or somebody telling you what to do or what not to do. And following your passion will do pretty magical things, in the sense that if you're doing something that you're passionate about, so once again, like you don't have to do it full time, let's say you could just do it on the side, you will have a reason to wake up in the morning, because you'll have something to look forward to. And I mean, we use the word passion, enthusiasm interchangeably, and I think that's fine. But I think with your passion, and obviously everyone has a different passion, I think we all secretly know what our passion is, but we just don't have the courage to say what our passion is because we're afraid that someone's going to try to delegitimize what we're passionate about and say it's not like, if it's not utilitarian, meaning you can't make money from it, people don't really treat it as legitimate. And even now, it's funny because like people say, oh, what do you do for a living? So I say, oh, I'm a photographer or a blogger. So, oh, whoa, like, do you make a living from that, or do you make money from it? And then suddenly, as if you're to make a living from it or make money from it legitimizes it or not. I think it doesn't really matter because, like, you know, the philosopher Spinoza was obviously passionate about philosophy. His day job was like a lens maker, or even Albert Einstein, his passion was theoretical physics and all that fun stuff. And his day job was he just like clerk at the Swiss patent office, which is equivalent to today's like DMV worker, I suppose. And so what following your passion means is like, and I could use myself as a personal example, is after I graduated college, I got like a 9 to 5 or more like a 10 to 7 tech office job doing like kind of social media, content marketing, blah, blah. And I did that to pay the bills, and I would wake up a little bit earlier every morning so I could blog in the morning or think and stuff like that. During my, even when I was at work, when I had some downtime, I would like try to build up my social media following on Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. During my lunch breaks, I would just walk around with my camera and make photos around the office or the nearby mall. And after work, and then I'd always try to leave work as quickly as possible. And then when I went home, I could, you know, do more blogging work. So essentially, I'd encourage you is this. All of your waking hours when you're actually perhaps not doing your job or your toilsome labor or whatever it may be, devote it on your passion. And there's so many different ways you could do it. So let's say your passion is photography. You don't always have to be out making photos. You could be looking at your old photos. You could be studying the photos of others. You could just be studying artwork in general. You could be reading biography on great photographers. I like the biography on Robert Capa was pretty good, and apparently there's a new one on Richard Avedon, which I'm actually interested in reading, or even watching documentaries on your passions. Essentially, there's two things you gotta do when pursuing your passion. One is the research phase, you're actually researching and learning about that thing you're passionate about. And the second thing is the doing thing, is obviously if your passion is photography, you should probably be out making photos, or if your passion is music, you should not just be listening to music, but I think you should also be producing music. And that's kind of the weird thing in modern society, is that a lot of what people think is their passion is just purely consumerist, passive consumption, which is fine in itself, but I think that we must be both consumers and producers. I think modern society has this too focused on being consumers, like 90% consumers, only 10% production. I think we should be 90% production and only 10% consuming. So for example, let's say your passion is, movies. I don't think you should only be watching movies. You should be spending the majority of your time critiquing movies, analyzing movies, or perhaps the best is shooting your own movies. And let's say, and like even with like YouTube or videos and stuff like that, I would actually say probably more fun to spend 90% of your time producing your own videos, your own YouTube videos, and only spending 10% of your free time watching it. Because once again, I think obviously we need to consume in order to create and produce and be alive. I mean, like, you cannot live without consuming food, obviously, right? But if you're spending 90% of your day just eating and 10% of your day just acting, it's probably not a good balance. And even Horace says, we mortals must work hard if we want to, in fact, achieve or obtain anything. So ultimately, it just kind of comes down to hard work and hustle. And it means allowing yourself to be a little bit foolish. It means letting yourself take a little bit of risks. And let me give you another example, personal example. Street photography is my passion, right? And when I started in like 2010, 2011, I kind of had this dream of like, I wonder if I can make this a living. And everyone's like, oh no, you're crazy. You can't make a living from street photography. You got to be a fashion photographer. You got to be a wedding photographer, blah, blah. Just like everyone's telling me to be realistic. And that's the thing I freaking hate the most is when people tell you to be realistic. I'm like, no, like just because maybe, and then, you know, whenever people telling you to be realistic, they're essentially saying, I don't have faith in myself, or I might have pursued my passion and I failed, or I couldn't make a living out of it. Thus, you will fail too. So essentially, whenever people critique you or criticize you, whatever, they're just reflecting their own personal insecurities. Or when they see you trying to pursue your own passion, they're going to try to drag you down because most people, unfortunately, their self-ego is based on the esteem of themselves in respect to other people around them. And actually the saddest thing is that the people most likely to try to tear you down isn't just going to be random trolls on the internet. It's going to be people close to you, like friends, family, you know, coworkers, whatever it may be. So I think for the most part, practical tip is when you're pursuing your passion, you don't really need to tell anybody else. Just kind of do your thing. I mean, people ask you about it, or of course tell you about it, tell them about it. But I think it actually is good to kind of like keep your head low and to stay pursuing what you're doing. And of course you want to put yourself out, but what I mean to say is that, like, generally speaking, don't ask friends, family, or your partner or other people for advice on any of your creative pursuits or your passions, because once again, I think most people generally tend to be more pessimistic and negative and will tell you reasons why you should fail because, you know, they love and care for you, and most people are actually risk averse. On the other hand, if you do have friends who are super empowering and, you know, totally gung-ho and supporting you, then of course you want to share these things with them. But I think it all just depends on who you surround yourself with. And generally speaking, I think you have to really watch who your inner circle is. It takes one negative person to fuck up the benefits of 100 positive people. And like what the mafia says, the most important thing is just to get the pebble out of your shoe, right? So the idea is that one negative person could just kind of fuck everything up. So just kind of ruthlessly cut out negative people from your life or distance yourself from them. And if you're pursuing your passion in life, so once again, I kind of touched upon this earlier, but like a lot of people are like, oh, you know, I don't know what my passion is. I think all of us know what our passion is. If you really don't know, just some question to ask yourself. What am I really good at that doesn't feel like a lot of toilsome effort for me, but other people tell me I'm good at? What are some passions or interests or hobbies I had when I was a kid before I had to worry about, you know, getting good grades and making a bunch of money or whatever? Also ask yourself, you know, if you had like $1 trillion and you never had to work again in your life, what would you spend your life doing creatively, actively doing? And I don't really take this whole like traveling thing as an excuse, because like even traveling for the most part, it's pretty consumptive, because like you travel in order to do something. So some people travel in order to learn a new language, or some people travel in order to make more photos, or some people travel in order to expand their mind or broaden their mind. So in fact, what you're really trying to do is you're trying to make more photos, you're trying to write more, you're trying to come up with more epic thoughts that you're going to eventually integrate into your life and also share with other people. So I do like the concrete idea that we must produce something. So when you're producing things, you could produce a dance, you could record it, you could film it, you could make photos, you could write things, you could record your audio, you could start your own podcast. So I think us taking kind of this like producerist mindset rather than being consumerist is really one of the best ways for us to pursue our passions. Because I think, let's say my passion is stamp collecting. All right, cool. That's cool that you collect stamps, but don't just collect stamps passively as your passion. I don't know, maybe make your own stamp store and you're selling limited edition stamps, or make your own website devoted to stamps, or create a forum for other stamp collectors to do, or, you know, make videos on your favorite stamps and stuff like that. So essentially, you want to produce things that have utility and practical use for yourself, but also could inspire and help other people. And the best way for us to think about pursuing our passion is, I think it's a great word, autotelic things, which means you do things in it for themselves. You don't So for example, I don't make this video in order for me to get more followers or in order for me to make money or whatever. I make this video because I like making videos. I make this video and then, you know, obviously I want to help you and also I want to kind of help myself. But for the most part, like no one's like taking my arm and twisting. It's like, oh, Eric, you got to keep producing the videos. Like, no, I make these videos because I enjoy it. And same thing is that like when I go to the gym, I like to lift weights because lifting weights is fun. So it's like, it's so simple. It's just doing more of like what's kind of fun for you and what doesn't feel like toilsome labor for you. Furthermore, it kind of means too is that like, and this is just a practical life tip that I learned for myself is I think creative isolation is actually a good thing. So there's always talks of like, oh, you should probably collaborate with other people, reach out to other people and stuff like that. I think generally speaking, the sentiment is good and the idea is good. But I think the problem is that often becomes a crutch that you think in order to do something or pursue your passions or create anything, you are dependent on the other people. And I much prefer the idea that you could be independent, you could pursue your passions without needing the help of other people. Of course, you know, there's other practical things that eventually, let's say down the line, you want to get a teacher or a coach, or you want someone to guide you, or if you want to just perform or share in front of other people, obviously you want other people. But I still encourage you, try to pursue whatever passion you do, and whatever you create or make or do, you're not reliant on other people. So for example, even going to the gym, I think the idea of a gym buddy is pretty good, but for myself, I don't like having a gym partner because I like to go in random times throughout the day, and I don't like to wait on other people. And so even whatever weightlifting activities I do, I don't want it to be dependent on other people because I'm kind of like a lone wolf or a solo eagle. I like to kind of fly on my own. Even Fernando Galliani, kind of Italian philosopher, poet, thinker, he said, eagles don't fly in a company, leave that to the pigeons and partridges, right? So really think of yourself kind of more of a lone wolf, kind of more of a solo eagle flying on his own wings, and try to pursue your passion in a way that, once again, you're not so dependent on other people. Practical things is start your own website blog. I recommend signing up on bluehost.com and installing wordpress.org and start blogging. Another idea is start your own YouTube channel. You don't need permission from anyone to upload a video, and just start publishing and putting things out there that you find is of value. And the point isn't necessarily to make a living from your passion. I think that's an option. I'll talk more about that in another video in the future. But just because you make a passion from your make a living from your passion doesn't mean it's somehow more legitimate. I mean, for myself, I'm so grateful I can make a living from my passion because it just gives me more freedom, control in my life, which essentially makes me happier. And I just feel like I could express myself more in different creative ways. So just kind of wrap things up. Ask yourself, what is my passion in life and how can I do more of my passion every single day? And so, you know, use the comment section below to share what your personal passions are. Maybe even answering why you're passionate about it. So for example, the reason I'm so passionate about blogging and vlogging and creating information and knowledge is that it is a fun and interesting challenge for me to reflect about my own beliefs, and it's quite exciting to me to come up with new ideas and share them. And also I get great delight because if they are beneficial to other people, yeah, it just kind of gives me more purpose, or it makes me happy to know that I could actually make an impact and help the lives of others. And ultimately, for me, if I could just influence or impact one person in a positive way, I'm happy. So yeah, so in the comments below, write what my passion is. You can say type, my passion is da 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 because of da 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 da, and my dream is da 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 da. And then just realize this is constant evolution, it's constant changing. What your passion is tomorrow might not be your passion the day after, and just allow yourself to pursue anything you're interested in, pursue all your random passions in life. So for me, that's like sociology, photography, philosophy, cinema, video, psychology, poetry, rap music, beats, weightlifting, all these random nonsense things, and use that all to cross-pollinate to each other to create something really unique and special. So Share your dopeness with others. And also if you started a new website or YouTube channel, leave a comment down below and let's all prosper together. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Peace out.